What's going on, guys? My name is Tanner Kotowske. I am the lead trainer here at What's Up Dog in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. I'm here with Steve Kotowske, the owner and head trainer of What's Up Dog, as well as Armored K9. He happens to also be my father, and this is the What's Up Dog podcast. Today, we have a special guest on with us, a former police canine trainer and handler for many years, and owner of VaNess K9 up in Canton, Ohio. Everyone, this is Eric Stanbro. Eric, how are you doing?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So, Eric, you don't really know that much about us, so we're going to take a quick second to just tell you a little bit. Steve, I'll let you go first. What made you love dogs? And tell us about your time training with AK9I and how that transitioned to what we do now with What's Up Dog and Armored K9.
So I actually grew up with a German Shepherd many years ago because I'm not a young guy, and grew up with a German Shepherd that we were using as a breeding dog to help with the St. Pete Police Department because of a connection that we had there. And through the years, after a couple of other successful careers, I decided I want to follow my passion, and that was helping people, and it was helping people with the use of a dog. And so I decided to actually enroll in a school to learn more, and with the purpose of getting our narcotics detector dog. And I ended up going to AK9I, American Canine Interdiction, up in Carsville, Virginia, and spent about 4 months up there training with them, some of the best of the best. And it was a pretty neat experience. They do military training, they do police training. Obviously, along with that, they do some other stuff. But I was fortunate in the fact that they didn't have any military groups coming through. So I got their trainers pretty much to me, 24/7. We went to breakfast in the mornings, lunch, dinner. And then when their workday was done, I actually stayed nearby. And because it got pretty boring, I would just go work in their kennels with the kennel techs up there. So I had some fun, immersive training up there with AK9I, and I'm still friends with Paul Rauscha, who runs that organization as their president. Pretty neat operation up there. Decided to transition to from not just doing the narcotics detector, and that was a private sector job, but started transitioning into doing some work with the local sheriff's office. And of course, that morphed into doing pet dog training over the years. And that was back in 2012. So been doing it for a little bit. Professionally, had done it just as a hobby before then. So that's kind of my history to where I am now.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll talk about a little bit about what my experience with it is. Obviously, I'm his son, so I've been doing this since pretty much he got back from Virginia, learning how to work dogs, learning what the process of it is, learning the psychology of dogs, pretty much from a really young age. What's funny is he actually pulled up to our Pee Wee football game with Rick, the dog he brought back from AK9I, and pretty much since then I fell in love with doing it. And that's pretty much how eventually after college I ended up being the lead trainer over here at What's Up Dog and helping out with Armored K9 and Von Herter House Kennels, which is our parent company, and kind of doing all that. But Eric, for those who don't know who you are, kind of tell us a little bit about who you are and what you guys do over at VaNess K9.
Okay, yeah, my name is Eric Stanbro. I am a retired cop with the Kansas City Police Department. Went through the police academy in 1992, worked some small departments, and got hired in Canton in 96. Retired in November of 2018. I did patrol, narcotics, SWAT. Did SWAT for a long time. Got into K9 in 05. Was a handler. I handled 4 dogs at Canton. Became the head trainer. Took a leave of absence for a few months, went out west of California and worked the Naval Special Warfare SEAL contract, training dogs for Cobra K9, who has that contract out there. Did that for just a few months. Contract world for me is just a little too unstable. So, even the worst day at the police department, they still paid on payday. You didn't have to worry about nothing. Right. So went back to I had taken a leave, went back to the police department, got back in, became the head trainer again, did full-time training at the end. All I was doing was dogs and firearms. So I retired. The Canton belongs to a thing called the Police K9 Association. So we had like 40 teams, something like that I trained. Did their classes. I probably did, I don't know, 4 or 5 basic academies with dogs a year. And then we did maintenance training every Wednesday. When I retired, before I retired, I started my own company, VaNess K9, which provides police dogs, training and dogs for law enforcement. And then after I retired, I started the pet side of the business, which is Ridgeside K9 Ohio. It's a little R on this hat. Ridgeside K9 Ohio. It's a franchise location from my buddy Aaron Taylor, owns the original Ridgeside in the DC metro area. So yeah, man, we're plugging away. I've got 4 buildings. My VaNess side, that we call it the Fun House, is 40,000 square feet of stupidity. We do all kinds of goofy stuff and real good basic training stuff in there. A lot of SWAT stuff, a lot of tactical units come use the place because I have a shoot house in there, and you can use simunition and night vision all day, every day in there. And then on the pet side, we have a big, huge facility I think 10 trainers now on the pet side.
Wow.
So we have doggy daycare. It's rocking and rolling, man. It's dogs full time, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, no, I was wondering about your pet side of things a little bit because we do a lot of the pet side as well. Well, kind of my next question was, how hard was it like transitioning from working the streets with K9 to kind of doing what you do now, where you're more so doing it on the independent side of training, and then also doing the doggy daycare and the pet side of things?
So, it wasn't really hard because police administration, they help by being jerk offs. They help by
Right.
getting you to get out of police work. It's not hard when everybody retires, especially nowadays. I think people, when they retired back in the day, were kind of, man, this sucks. I wish I could stay longer, but I got to move on. Now everybody's like escaping by retiring. And by the time I retired, I wasn't working a dog anymore, and I wasn't working on the street. So I kind of did that. And I got to tell you, my career at Canton was insane. I had a lot of action, a lot of stuff, a lot of gunfire, gunplay, a lot of things going on in my career. And I felt like I didn't leave anything, if that makes sense. Like I didn't have anything to deal with or to prove on the street. There was nothing. I was like, man, I wish I could have done that. Nope, I did all of it. So when I left, my plan was to not do pets. Actually, my plan was to do just police dogs. And as you know, that's a hard business to be your full-time business. There's a lot of places that can do it. AK9. By the way, am I the only one? I've said that name probably, I don't know, 100 times in my life. I struggle saying it. I have to consciously AK9I, because the K9I, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you heard me. I had to say out the entire name for the abbreviation because I stumble over that.
Yeah, it's just a weird speech pattern. But I see those guys every once in a while at Dulles Airport and bullshit with them when I'm there. But so it's difficult. Like they can do it. There's a lot of places that do it, but that's not where the money is. The money is in the pets. And I'll tell you what pushed me. I was doing pets a little bit, just a little bit. It was only me, and I had leased a building across the street from my K9 facility at the police department. And my plan was just to use it to do some training in there. It's a small little building, like, I don't know, 2,000 square feet, just kind of open. And then somebody wanted to bring doggy daycare in there. And I was like, oh, we can split it and I'll do training over here in daycare. It doesn't work that way. Daycare takes over everything. So I was so I'm the co-host of a podcast called Working Dog Radio. And Ted and I, my co-host, we went to Texas, and we were a guest on Mic Drop with Mike Ritland.
Yeah.
And we both had known Mike for years. And him and I were just sitting there talking, and I was just kind of getting his opinion about the whole thing. And he said, I'm kind of leaning away from the police dog stuff. And I said, and he goes, just really focusing on the pets. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, so let's take a round number that there's 500,000 dogs in the U.S., just as a round number, 500,000. 50,000 of those at most are police dogs.
Right.
The rest are pets. And I always use a line that God makes dogs every day. every day, lots and lots and lots of them, and only a very, very small percentage are police dogs. He said that's where the money is. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I went back and started, and my training system for pets has evolved several times, just like my police canine stuff has evolved. I'm
Sure.
lucky, I'm lucky through my social media and through the podcast to meet a lot of people and a lot of trainers. And I've learned so many different things from so many people that I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really work for me, but that I'm using. That's for sure I'm
Right.
taking. And then when we really started focusing the right attention on Google and on Facebook, the way we do the Facebook marketing, I went from me and one other person, Sarah, training with me to 10, 11 trainers, 2 managers, all these employees at the daycare. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cops that work for me. 2 of them, well, 3 now, quit law enforcement to work for me full time, which is stressful, buddy. For me, that's stressful because these guys have a paycheck guaranteed every 2 weeks, right?
Right.
But it's working out great. They want to leave. They're done with it. So, now I'm me. I have a kid that works for me. He's a state trooper. He works for me part time, helping with the police side. But it's just me, and so my wife manages the daycare side of the house and the payroll and all that stuff. And then this other girl, Amanda, manages all the training, all the phone calls and emails and everything. So I no longer train myself pet dogs because now I'm working on the business as more than in the business, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But what I do like to do is after we're done today, I'm going to go to the pet facility. We got brand new dogs that came in today and just start repping them out. Cause I still like to do that,
I find the same thing where like when I first decided I was going to start what I'm doing, I wasn't going to be a pet dog trainer at all. But once people find out, hey, Steve's running a drug dog in a private service. I also have German Shepherds that I show. And we've done well with the North American Seeger Show and some other stuff that we've done. And they said, oh, hey, we want you to train our dog. Will you train our dog? And I said, well, sure. I've got plenty of time in between, training and maintenance training for detection. And I realized that you can actually monetize that in a pretty fair way. And so that's what I ended up doing and moved into that. Now we don't have here, down on the coast in Florida, land is a premium. So we've got our first facility is a 10,000 square foot facility. But it allowed us to bring in multi-agency training because of what we do offer here with the space, and made for a lot of fun. And then we grew into doing daycare. We have 2 daycares because now we have 2 facilities. Our primary facility for training, then we have another facility where I can focus on nutrition because obviously that's a big deal when you're working with dogs. And so we focus on nutrition in a retail outlet there, and then a big daycare. So it's been a big driver for what we do, and definitely not what I saw happening when I first started. I thought, no, I'm going to get out here and I'm going to go help families by doing a private narcotics detection dog and try to help kids that were kind of veering off of a path that weren't bad yet. They weren't their Uncle Joey, shaking meth on the back porch yet, but they were smoking weed, and the parents were finding they were getting out of control. And that turned into what we're doing now because people just came out of the woodwork. I think somewhat tired of what they had been offered in pet training, and they wanted something a little bit different. Then it turned into, oh, wait, we have to stay away from Steve because Steve is the German Shepherd guy. And he does protection dogs and he does narcotics. And it's taken some, even today, I heard it from someone not too long ago, getting a referral. And they said, well, Steve does all those big dogs. Well, the truth is, it's not just big dogs, as you know, that we can apply the same things to every dog. Yeah. And that's been a big part of the marketing process for us, even over 10 years, span, is still marketing that. because I still breed German Shepherds. We just in fact, I just lost my detector dog not too long ago, about 6 months ago now. And, so people still recognize us doing those bigger dogs, big pointy ear dogs. And they get a little bit, they're a little wary about it. They're like, well, we're not so sure, but we've been able to bridge that gap and do really well. And to prove that I could do it, I actually raised 2 litters of Maltipoos, believe it or not. I had a 4.5 pound poodle, and we found a Maltese to breed to her, and I raised 2 litters of what I call bomb-proof Maltipoos. That, as you know, raising puppies, you can apply the same principles and do all the same things with all the noise and surface acclimation and all the challenges. You just have to make them smaller. So now we have Maltipoos out there that can climb trees and don't care about fireworks. So it's
awesome.
kind of nice, But
yeah. I like the name of that. What's up, dog? That's a good catchy name. I like
well, it's funny because when I first decided on the name for it, my advertising guy who was working on logos and doing different stuff, he said, Steve, do you want to make it What's Up Dog or What's Up Dog or do anything different? I said no. I said it needs to be What's Up Dog. It's timeless because people change things, and I want What's Up Dog. That's it. And he said okay. Well, sure enough, once we started marketing it, then everybody likes to pick on us, like The Office, and we'll have people that'll post on their Instagram, and they'll take pictures in front of our sign in front of our building. Hey, I'm at Up Dog. What's up, dog? So it's kind of fun, but it's worked for us. We have the 2 other divisions, the kennels, the Von Herterhaus kennels, and that's been our umbrella. That's where we started because I was breeding the German Shepherds, and that became the umbrella for what we do now, and it's been pretty neat. And then we have Armored K9, which is our protection dog in our police canines, and that's been a fun venture, for us. But that's a world where contract work is not as much fun sometimes. And waiting on contracts, doing that breakthrough and break into to agencies, the same agencies that you would train with over the years may not purchase dogs from you, and that's kind of a crazy thing. And we're in a small area. We're not in a big area. We're small. We don't have the populace that you've got, but we draw a lot of people here, which is fun. In fact, Tom Girolami, I always say his name wrong. Girolami did some training with you. He's from up in the Akron area, and he told me to give you a shout out and say, hey.
Tom's a great guy. He supported Akron PD's K9 unit for a lot of years, man. Tom was a good dude. They used to call him the Dog Father.
Yeah, and he fell in love with the beach, and here he is. He comes to my store every couple of weeks, and then we sit and have a conversation. What a great guy. He keeps asking me to put him to work. He says, when you need some help, let me know. And he's a cool guy. So, but I don't think he wants to really come out of retirement. I think he likes driving around in his Jeep with his top down.
Does he still have a Malinois? Does he still?
He does, Bud. We had an event at the store, and the funny thing about Tom is, hey, Tom, do you have a sleeve? And he says, well, of course I have a sleeve. And I said, well, let's do a demo. And so we did a quick demo out in front of the store at an event we were having as a customer appreciation day. And of course, Bud's amazing. Bud's a lot of fun. So and Tom's he's always a hoot to talk with when he comes around.
Yeah, I like Tom a lot.
So I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
I know Tanner's got some, but when we talk in terms of police K9 and those handlers and training of those handlers, you put them through a multi-week course, with 12 weeks. How did you find when you were first starting that transition to pet owners in terms of teaching about dog behavior? What did you find? Did you find it difficult at all? Because it's the same world, but you have guys that are focused, that have a purpose, and then you have pet owners who want solutions. They want fixes. and they're coming to you because they have problems, and they didn't have an understanding of it, but they don't always want to dive into what the problems are. They just want fixes. I know it's kind of a jumbled up thing, but did you find any difficulty in that transition?
Well, of course, it's a little bit different, but by the time I started doing pets, I had trained so many guys in law enforcement that I feel that I'm a kind of a bit of a human psychologist, right? So in my class in the beginning, it was 14 weeks, green dog, green handler, which is a challenge on itself. But I would have 3, 4, 5 guys, and I would have to figure out how each one learns. Why is it that you forget what I just told you after 6 seconds of walking away? Like, completely forgot. So now you need to come and you have to repeat back to me what I said before you go get your dog. And then when you come back in, you're going to have to repeat it to me again. I'm not trying to treat you like a child. I'm just saying this is how you're learning. So I got really good at it, trying to figure out how guys learn. Police are a captive audience, though, right? They're there.
Right.
They have to be. Their job sometimes depends on it. The reputation at their police department depends on it. The problem is they're still human beings, and they're still technically kind of pet owners. When they take the dog home, they live with the dog more than they work with the dog. And I wish I actually would have known more about what I know about dogs and things now from pets that I could have applied to police back then, when you have the leash reactive police dog, which we all thought was just an aggressive jerk. Like, hey, everybody get
sharp,
back.
everyone back up.
Yeah, back up. He's coming through to go run detection. I'm not going in the room with him, that type of thing. And it was, now that I know, it was just probably is 10 by 20 kennels, too big of a space, too much freedom, too much open, stupid divider, petting them nonstop, unearned affection, all the things that cause a lot of problems with the pet side that I wish I would have known back then, because we could have probably helped some people some handlers live a little bit better with their dogs. You know what I mean? Because they're like, this guy, he just spins the whole time in the kennel nonstop. We could have, knowing what I know now. But in the pet world, the big problem I see with the pet owners is, and you're right, they want a solution and everything. And they'll agree when I explain to them that they're the common denominator that's causing a lot of the anxiety and the problems with the dogs, which we all saw explode during COVID.
Sure.
And people are like, why does this dog have separation anxiety when he's with me all the time? Right. I'm like, because you're sitting here watching Tiger King for 6 hours and stroking this dog, and you made him crazy.
And you can no longer go to the grocery store.
Right. So, but what happens, I say this to people too, because like you're at parties or functions and people want to talk to you about their dog and everything. And I give, like you guys, tons of free stuff away, free information, because I like talking about it. But where the pet people struggle is it is a life change for them. Like, they have to make some serious life changes. And it's hard. That's very difficult. Oh, yeah. It's very difficult for anybody to completely change the way they're living with their dog, especially when it comes to the affection. And, it's going to be hard. I've slept with a dog in my bed for the last 12 years. And
yes, now it's uncomfortable for them. Right.
They don't get that they have created an addiction for themselves and for the dog. And, for us, the biggest issue we have, and it's a no, there's no two ways about it. We have on our paperwork, do you crate your dogs, and will you crate your dogs at the end of training? If their answer is no, we pass on them as clients.
Wow.
Because it's proven fact that the crates work. So if they're not even open to it, I'll show you somebody else that'll train your dog for you. But that crate can be a very big lifestyle change for folks, and so that's the biggest issue is, and they forget that the dog went through training, rocked it, killer. We do the go home lesson, rocked it. They think that it's there forever. And I'm like, I go, you did math in school, right? When you started the multiplication table and you got it, were you done? Was that it? Good. I know it. I don't have automatically 7 times 8. I can fit right now. Automatic bullshit. Everybody has to think about that for a second. Just like the AK9I, how you have to think, but they forget that. And some people though are just, I don't know, man. They spend the money. Dog training is not cheap. They spend the money and walk out, and as they're walking out of our facility, they're taking the collars off the dog, and they put them in
Yes.
their car and drive off. So now we walk the dog out, put them in the car. You do what you're gonna do when you leave, but don't insult me as
Right.
you're leaving, and take off the tools that we trained your dog with. Um, and they just did it because of social pressure, family pressure. You know, it's the only reason why they come. We get a lot of younger folks that live with their parents. They have this dog, and their family's like, "You get this dog trained, or you can't live here."
Right.
So they go get the dog trained, but they're not going to do anything. None of
Right.
it work. So
Right. The idea of going home and actually working their dog goes out the window because
Mhm.
they've been reunited, that all those things happen. And I think the biggest thing for me is the phone calls that I'll get. And how do I? Well, this is what we're going to do, but
Mhm.
I'm all out of magic powder to put on your dog because, there's a short supply. And they want that magic powder put on their dog, where the magic powder becomes their connection to the dog. Once we imprint, once we work the dog, then we have to be able to teach them. And I find that can be some of the most difficult stuff to the non-committed dog owner in terms of training. I teach a lot of psychology of the dog in hopes that they pick that up, which I believe that they do. But it takes a couple of sessions of working with them before they start to see it in action and they understand it. And getting them to practice it at home, one little step at a time, seems to be the way that we've been able to have breakthrough in that. And I'm always interested to hear how other people are doing that, but it's always pretty well the same thing. You really just have to put the pressure on them to understand you have to do certain things, like with your crate. If you don't crate, then we're not gonna train the dog. I actually have a friend out in Washington who trains, and if a dog comes in with behavioral issues, if they don't change the dog's diet to his preferred diet, he won't train them. He's made a big stand in what he does. He actually puts a dog on a raw diet so that he can clean out the system and do the things that need to be done. And he won't train with them unless they go to that diet. If it's major behavioral issues, obedience and stuff, different thing, but behavioral issues, because he wants to eliminate where he knows some of the problems can come from, and that way he has the best results at the end. So I respect him for that. I think it's a great way to look at it. But I find I'm looking at some of my notes, but I find with some of the stuff with the pet owners is when we can give them a nugget that they can hold on to, and that you can go back to. And I tell them I'm creating a toolbox for you. And it's now your job to take a tool out of the toolbox and work your dog, and show them what that looks like. And it seems to work. And as they come back in, well, are you going to your toolbox at all? What are you doing? And then holding them accountable becomes the key. And then the light at some point goes off for the committed dog owner. And that's what I like about it. I do like that side of the pet, because we can share the psychology that typically we only see in professional handler training courses and things like that, but taking that out to pet owners and teaching them the true psychology. I tell everyone I teach the same coursework from a group class, because I do the intro to our group class. Most of the time, it's about a 2-hour session. No dogs, no kids, show up with a notebook. And I know who shows up with a notebook and who doesn't. I can tell by that who's going to be a success and who's not in shared training group class, right? Which is not my favorite thing to do. And I'm not shy about that, but we've been asked to do it. And so we do it, and we do it well. But I share the same knowledge in that 2 hours as I do with someone coming in to do private training with me. They've seen the light in a lot of that, because the psychology of it is what makes the difference. And I think that's what that's where the difference is in someone who's just, hey, we're going to train some tricks with a dog and this and that, but understanding who your dog is becomes critical. And I think that's what sets trainers apart, and puts us in a place where you can bring in the dogs that you do. You can produce the dogs that you produce, because you can understand the dogs. I'm always interested when I get to talk to people who know those things, and put them into practice, because not everyone does.
Right. You know what when you talk about the little nuggets, what I've landed on is a few things. So we do board and trains. So some of my trainers work from home. They have board and trains. We have board and trains that stay at our building, and then we have day training. Drop off in the morning, pick up in the afternoon. We don't do.
Yep.
We used to do lessons to get some income coming in, but everyone hates them. And 1 day a week lessons, I'm not a fan of. I would rather, not have to revisit. It's like a teacher who, when they have summer off, every single beginning of the year, it's rehashing what you forgot over the summer.
Right.
I find if they're ever there every Monday, the beginning is rehashing what they didn't do over the week. But anyway,
and it becomes remedial training. Yeah.
right. So the one nugget that I have dropped in on lately has been and they seem to understand, is just the concept of pressure on, pressure off, right? Especially with a lot of the fearful dogs that won't work for food and things like that. And so I'll give you an example. On our day training dog, they drop off Monday, pick up Monday night, Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, we're prong collar people. We use prong collars. Sometimes I'll use Star Mark, the plastic prongs, or slip leads, depend on the dog. But a lot of times you have that prong collar for the people, and they're looking at it like it's a medieval torture device.
Sure.
And we got to show them. I show them how they can't actually choke the dog with it and all that. And this is Wednesday this is day 3. And their dog at the end of Monday and Tuesday was still wild when they came back. Now they've done by Tuesday evening, like 1,000 reps of stuff. But Wednesday, when we say, hey, I need about 15 minutes, and we show them the prong collar and we put the leash on, and we just show them how we can manage that dog with 2 fingers on that leash, or maybe even one at the end of it, letting the dog come out, showing them how little pressure they need to get the dog to come back to them. And then we talk about, hey, listen, going forward, your dog gets overly excited, whatever, this is going to be the way for you to turn them and bring them back to you if that's what we're going to do. And that concept of pressure on, pressure off, we still reiterate the entire 2 weeks to them every day. Yeah. That seems to be the thing that they've been able to remember, like glom onto, because they're so impressed that their lab that can pull them literally onto their face. And what happens is, if I'm in the facility on Wednesday afternoons, the girls like me to do that lesson because I don't know the dogs. I've never seen them. And and then I can show them that, hey, look, just so you know, I've never worked this dog. And we show them, and the dog is keeping that loose leash and flipping right into a heel position just by body language where I stand and all that other stuff. I find that to be the one really main, because then when we get to the e-collar, remember, pressure on, pressure off, and they start to kind of really understand that. If you get, it's a fire hose, it's drinking from a fire hose, that old saying. Right. On that go home lesson. So what we started doing, I can't remember where I got this idea. 72 hours after the dog goes home, we call the owner. How's it going? What are you doing? What did you forget? Which is a lot. And you forgot a lot, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, he's still trying to get in the trash. But don't forget, we showed you how we use a thing called tone avoidance, how we're using tone. Oh, shit. Yeah. I forgot, man. There was so much information. Got it. And then, like everybody, we guarantee for the life of the dog. So, there's a lot of follow-ups and everything that you got to do. But, and it's funny because owners get pissed because I show up or the trainer shows up and the dog is perfect for us.
I had that happen. Mm-hmm. A client came in and dropped the leash and said, here's your problem dog. Well, I looked over at the dog and I said, sit. The dog sat 20 feet away from me. The woman's daughter looked at mom with great big baseball eyes. And then I looked at the dog before I walked out from around my counter where I was. I said, down. Dog laid down beautifully. And the daughter looked at mom again, but this time it was different. And it was like, wow. And I walked and I got to where I was about 10 feet from the dog. And I said, what's the problem? And the girl said, the dog doesn't listen to mom like that, but mom doesn't talk to the dog like that. And I said, what does mom do? I don't want to hear from mom. I want to hear from third party. Well, mom yells at her. Well, of course, so the dog's not going to respond to her because the dog doesn't like to be barked at all the time. And so anyway, that's one of my favorite ones where someone comes back in after having worked their dog, but doing it wrong. So what we started doing was follow-ups after a board and train. We give them 3 follow-ups they have to do within 6 weeks. And if they don't do it in 6 weeks, they go off the book and they're no longer valid for them. But that gives them a period of time where they can come in and then do refreshers to make sure that they're communicating well. I like the idea of the phone call follow-up, although some of them will call us, which is fine, but we get them to come back in, and it seems to work pretty well.
We do a group refresher the last Saturday of every month.
Oh, that's cool.
It's usually folks that are struggling. Every once in a while you get someone that just wants to come because they know we're going to do a big, huge group walk and things like that. And that always helps. I do most of the talking, like I do all this talking, and I usually almost every time I reiterate the things that are black and white for reals and what causes their problems. And I'll demonstrate a couple things, and then we do a big, huge group walk because there's some, we do individual things, but I always tell them, please don't wait till the last Saturday of the month, though, man. We're here.
Yeah.
Just stop by, or
Right,
call.
right.
Don't wait because they got to live with that dog every day, and if you're trying, you can make little improvements. Because do you guys do behavioral modification?
We do.
Yeah.
It's people are like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm like, well, you're just don't like money apparently, because that's where money is, and not that it's all about money, but we money makes this world go round, so we do have to earn a living. Behavior modification is tough, man. I have a couple trainers that specify, that's what they do. That's their specialty. Which, can you imagine that every single dog, the only dogs you ever get to train are problem dogs? You never even get a real nice little, Cavapoo or something like that. It's like, oh my gosh. But they do really well. But the hardest thing, a lot of times, I'm sure you see this, the dog comes to you guys, and this is it, man. This is their last chance. They got 2 bites. They're coming to you, or they're going to get put to sleep. And some of those dogs, man, we're a week into it, 2 weeks into it, and we tell them, when we explain to them like true aggression, you can't extinguish it. I mean, that's who they are. The dog is going to, it's a management thing, and can you manage it? You know what I mean? Will you manage it? Because one slip up with this dog, and we've had a couple dogs that we've actually recommended it. So I think, hey, here we're 4 days into this, and I'm telling you, this dog tried to kill every single person here. It's just he's just not gonna. You're not gonna do it. You're 72 years old, and you have this Rottweiler who's got 3 bites and is 110 pounds. You know what I mean? So that's always tough conversations to have.
We've had that a couple of times, and it's not fun, like you said. I mean, and you're talking about professionals handling a dog with good eyes, good timing, good communication, and then you're going to a layperson who just loves the dog so much, and that's a tough conversation to have. But you have to love the dog enough to let it go sometimes, and it is tough. But yeah, we do behavior mods, and those. I think I've probably backed out of more of those recently because the people don't want to make the commitment that it takes, because again, they want magic dust. Well, you can fix it. This just started, when the dog turned 1.5 years old. It was great before then. And then you have to have the talks about the drives and the budding drives that these dogs have, and how their care was, and all the different things that come through, and what they didn't do or did do during that fear stage that they had. And then for us, we look at we get a lot of rescues that come through, and the early neutering and the different things that affect some of those things, and some of the ability to handle that fear stage that they go through, and the coddling that's been done. And it's really hard to unravel some of those, but like you said, it's the money side of it is good. It's really making the determination if the owner can handle the dog when it's gone. And we had one ask us, hey, this dog, it's shown aggression, but never bit anyone in the house. And one of my trainers said, well, you have small kids. And they said, well, can you make sure he doesn't bite the kids? He said, no. He said, I can't put a kid in that position to test the dog and pressure the dog. So there's absolutely nothing I could do. And after working with the dog for about 30 minutes, he came and got me and he said, "Hey, Steve, I need you to come in here with me because I'm going to tell them, that they honestly just need to euthanize the dog and, or place it somewhere well away from their household because they can't manage the dog. They have kids." And of course I go in and the people said, "We're not going to get rid of the dog. We love the dog too much to do that to him." The next day, literally the next day, Eric, we got a phone call. The dog bit one of the kids in the face.
Oh, shit.
And then they wanted us to do a board and train with the dog. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So
they're willing to risk it too. I want to, he bit your kid in the face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Humans over dogs. And this is a big
Absolutely
thing that they can't fathom. I do like when we get fearful dogs. Like we're going to do a board and train on a fearful dog where
that's all I get.
Yeah, you can see great transformation. I think training fearful dogs makes you a better trainer than it does just a sweet old Labradoodle who will work for food and whatever. The dog who doesn't work for food, understanding the concept that pressure is what works, which sounds counterintuitive to dog training because you're putting pressure on the fearful dog. Yes. And he's building confidence by learning to turn off and overcome pressure, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And you can see actual improvements, but aggression cases, and you can see improvement with reactive dogs. Reactive dogs, as you know, would suck to live with. That sucks. And I feel, even though the lot of it's created by the owners and how they're living and things like that, and you can see vast improvements. We get reactive dogs that don't react when they're with us.
That's right. Well, hey, Eric, that's because they know you're the leader.
No.
Well, that's what we always.
They know I'm not a litter mate. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's what we hear though, because you're the leader, Steve. The dog knows you're the leader, and that becomes a lot of problem. Okay, so let's just say that's how the dog sees this. Emulate the leader. Well, I don't know if I can. And that becomes a big part of the issue. But so we're trying to teach people that if they'll do what we do, I'm not trying to teach them to be dog trainers, but I'm trying to teach them to train their dog, right?
Yeah.
And be able to read their dog. And I use, some key terms: noticeable change of behavior, right? Let's look for those things and let's see what your dog does. Where's that tail twitch, the ear twitch, the little look back, whatever it might be, the stutter step for one time, and stuff that we can take from the professional side in a different context, possibly, right? But into that pet side on a reactive dog, or even a dog that just has too much play drive and wants to go jump on people. And we can see that and teach them how to interrupt that faster and communicate better. And that's been fun for me, going from that side of professional training to going into that pet training side. And it's been a lot of fun and I see that as one way that I like to bridge it, because they learn something and they're pretty fascinated by that.
Yeah, and if they got a point at your dog, like a shepherd, you're like, look, your dog has antennas. He's telling you he is about to launch at this mailman while he's on leash. He's telegraphing it, but
well, hey, Eric, doesn't it mean when those ears are pointed back, doesn't that mean he's afraid?
Oh, scared to death.
It means he's listening to you. He wants some direction from you. Wants to know what your input is because the mailman's out there. And we get that all the time.
Oh yeah. And I'll give it kind of an example. I had probably within the last 3 months, Dad, 2 beautiful German Shepherds, $4,500 German Shepherds that they got during COVID. They come to me at 2 years old and they're extremely reactive towards dogs, towards some people. If they're walking away from them, they're reactive. If they're walking towards them, they're afraid. And that's kind of the dogs we get a lot of the times. I get it from all the way from the German Shepherds, obviously. I get it more with doodles that do that than anything, because that poodle anxiety that's brought into them. But I mean, during COVID, we've got a lot of those 2-year-olds, a 1.5-year-old dogs that you kind of were talking about, where they're used to now getting sat on the couch and just getting pet all day. And the number one thing I say doing privates and stuff like that, their dog doesn't sit, and it does it the first time, and they're loving on their dog. The dog gets up, and I'm like, stop petting your dog. It's overstimulating it. It's causing that anxiety that we were just talking about fixing. And people finally start to get that after a little while. But it does take some time for some of those people. One thing I almost interrupted Steve on a couple minutes ago was talking about that umbrella company, Von Herter House Kennels. We also do Dutch Shepherds. And I know listening to you, Ted, and Mike Settle talk, yeah, we're talking about Dutch Shepherds versus the Malinois and the German Shepherds, and how their their intensity changes. What's kind of your, I guess I'm looking for the word here, but I guess what's your preference when it comes to the intensity of those three main shepherds? What's your preference when it comes to those pointy-eared dogs for the police side of things?
Well, I'm a Malinois guy, right?
Right.
So I prefer Mals, which means I like Dutch Shepherds.
Yeah.
Um, I like I have a one dog class going on right now so I still have a commission at a little city called Alliance, Ohio, and I have a commission and I'm training their dog for them, and he's a shepherd, and awesome, freaking awesome.
Really.
When you get a shepherd that's awesome,
Oh yeah.
they're so easy. You know what I mean? They're so easy to
Right.
train. But I have a Mal in my kennel right now that's I think it's probably going to end up down in Tennessee. He is a freaking banger, man. He's a killer. He's awesome. My only thing I don't like about the Dutch Shepherds, and maybe you guys having bred them, the only thing I really don't like about them is everyone I've gotten I've found are very slow to mature, and that drives me nuts. I have one in my kennel now that I got from a vendor in Europe. He's going to go back. He
Oh
is
wow.
he is bites hard as shit. You know, I mean, he's got the drives, but he's so puppyish and pat and what do I say? I don't know. He like constantly hand licking, and he's always just really, really immature, really immature. And I
Right.
found that a lot with Dutch Shepherds, that when they blossom, they're freaking awesome.
Oh yeah.
But for me, I don't know, man. I just have found that um, they take so long to mature, and it kind of irritates me a little bit. But my favorite dog that I've ever had come through my kennel is a dog named Russo that I sold to the Johnson City, Tennessee Police Department. It was
Oh wow.
a big ass Dutch Shepherd,
Yeah.
and we've bred him like 6 times. He just
Oh
produces
wow.
these giant footballs. Um, he was everything you would think about when you hear about Dutch Shepherds.
Right.
Everything, big jaw, the big head,
Wide jaw. Yep.
fast, his and I don't like sleeves. I'm a suit guy. I always wear bite
Right.
suits, but he got to the point where if we were working on recall and all that crap for certification, I had to use a sleeve with an extra handle in it because he was bringing
Wow.
so much speed, power, and intensity into the bite that on a suit you were getting a
Yeah.
concussion. He was slamming your head into the ground,
Right.
and he launched from a like way, it was weird, like a low trajectory, but it farther away than you expect. And
Right.
and his dad, I guess, was a world champion in KMPV, so he got that legitimately,
Yep.
And so like I said, you missed it, Steve. He asked which I prefer. I said I'm a Mal guy. I love Malinois, but I really enjoy training a great shepherd.
Right.
A
Yes.
really good shepherd, man. I have one in my class right now, dude. I mean, 2 reps, he's got it. Whatever it
Right.
is, he's got it. I was messing around with him now, so he certifies July 29th. I haven't even started recall yet. I am not worried about it at all. He's
Right.
gonna do it. So we're working the down in motion. He has to 50 feet away. He's got to wait for 2 minutes. You call him halfway. He's got it down. So I was dicking around with it and playing because I had time, and I put a place cot in the middle of the room and see if I can't teach him that he don't need it, but maybe another dog in the future does. Because I started using a place cot to teach the downstay, and then I
Yeah.
removed the cot. It's just easy. It's a
Right.
why not
Yeah.
make it easy? Well, he when if you were standing on the other side of the cot, boom, he would down right in front of you. You could get
Wow.
about 6-8 feet behind the cot. Well, then he started coming and trying to get down in front of the handler. I put a thing on my social media just asking, what would you guys do here? Just out of curiosity. And because I send dogs to place, I can send them all over the place, but I've never really worked on it where they're coming, they get on the place cot, but the handler's still 25 feet away, right?
Right.
And 2 reps. Once somebody gave me an idea, 2 reps, he got it. Today we did it, no cot, whap down. I put it on
Perfect.
my story. I got another video of him doing it. So he's so good. I mean,
Right.
he's so easy to teach. I have a Malinois in my kennel who is freaking awesome. And but he's, you know, couple more reps extra than the shepherd. You know, he
Well,
Right.
there's the Malinois takes in everything that's going on around it.
yeah, he actually tracks. He's a real good tracking dog. He was started in IPO. I could tell, you know,
Okay.
he's a footstep tracker, which is kind of how I do it. But he'll track, look, track, look. And it's an absolute pattern. If I video it and you watch, and I'll, because I have other people handle the dog, right? I want him to
Right.
work for as many people as
Right.
possible.
Anybody. Yeah.
And I'll show them, and the handler will be track, and he'll go, no shit, like 5 steps, look, 5 steps, look, 5. The shepherd never picks his head up. Whoa, just like a lawnmower.
Wow.
That's why I like the shepherds. I know Tanner's, he has his, and I love the Dutchies. I really do.
We got lucky with ours.
I used to breed the Dutchies and then train them up here, even keeping them at home. And I've transitioned for myself. I've got 4 German Shepherds at home, and I love the German Shepherds just because.
So you love hair is what you love. You love
well,
vacuuming.
I love the
time.
robot vacuum that sucks all the stuff out of itself, and runs automatically. Just that little bit slower processing, less distractibility for the most part, and that sure, steady dog. That's what, people look at my German Shepherds, and I breed West German show lines, and people go, oh, those show line dogs. My male would work right alongside of our Dutchies in our program, doing detector work and doing everything else, and everybody was amazed. And it's genetics, and so I've kept his genetics alive. He's 10 now, but that's my buddy right there. He's just a cool, steady dog, and would die for me, which I love. So it's a fun relationship with a German Shepherd.
When I have a shepherd and a mal in my kennel, and we're doing reps and we're doing the same thing, I always tell people you can see the shepherd do math, like
yes,
and then the mal just goes through the drywall.
Yep.
But the shepherd. 2 + 2 = 4 5. Nope. Okay, jump. It's hilarious to watch it. You can see it turning, man.
Oh yeah. I think we got lucky with the Dutchies. He was talking about how the Dutchies seem to take a little bit more time to mature. I think we got lucky with them. I don't know how familiar with like the Dutchie heritage you are, but Tommy Lushkin is a Dutchie back in the day. Wow.
Tommy, yeah.
But yeah, he's a beast. He's part of our lines, and obviously Tommy being a part of Duco too. We carried those lines throughout. I actually still have a Dutchie that she's 8 and some change now. But that dog, I mean, that's one thing about her is at a year old, I could bring her anywhere I wanted, fully mature at a year old. Now, some of her siblings, on the other hand, like you were kind of saying, acted like puppies until they were 5 or 6 years old. Her youngest sibling in the second litter we did, Coco, she's just like my dog, except for she's 6.5 years old and still acts like a puppy. Yeah. So I kind of see what you're saying with that. With the Germans, I know you guys talk a lot about intensity. We kind of just talked about it, but the Germans we've got lucky with those too. A lot of them will work, and they will be as intense as a Mal that we've trained, or any of the Dutchies we've trained. His dog we were just talking about, Zeus, he's crushed back bite sleeves, competition bite sleeves. And he'll hold on for dear life. Your arm's crushed in there, and he'll hold on for dear life, and he'll run through a brick wall for you if you ask him to. But I've also seen the other side of the Germans that they won't do that. They'll think, like you were talking about, okay, how do I get out the door and around the wall or jump over the wall before I go through it? So that's kind of why I do like the Dutchies. It's kind of like a good mix between the two almost. A little bit of the thinking process, but also, hey, I'll go run off this cliff if you want me to, which is kind of cool.
I do like a brindle dog too, though. I love that color. They're really cool looking. Trained a bunch.
Oh, go ahead.
Like the one I have now, Grom. Like I said, he's going back to Europe. He's so submissive to me. Oh, wow. It's crazy because we get him and bites hard. I was like, oh, cool, man, good. But then when we just started teaching him an out, and my outs are super non-conflict with a ball, and
that's what we do.
Giving him another ball. But after like
absolutely
3 reps, and you're like, he's hiding behind the handler.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, man, and then when you see him at the kennel, when I go into, say I feed him and I go to get the bowl, he's backing up into the corner of the kennel, and he's
Wow.
very, very licky on my hands, you know. And so I'm just keeping until I get him back to Germany. But yeah, I mean, he'll be a nice pet for somebody. But
Right. Like an active
yeah,
pet home.
but he's like a baby. You know what I mean? He's, I don't know, man, 14 or 15 months old. So maybe I'm expecting too much, but I need them to get here, even if they're a year old, and be ready to work. You know what
I
I
was
mean?
about to say, and
Environmentally solid. It's so
right.
crazy. Not afraid of anything, just afraid of my reaction to something.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it's really strange. Really
Yeah, I was
strange.
gonna say
Sensitive.
that sounds strange.
Yeah, that's that sensitive dog, you know. Well, I'm going to ask you a thing on the pet side, because one of the things that we get in the pet world is we talk about quick fixes and all these different things. And one of the things that I remind people of often, you know, well, Steve, can you fix this? Can you guys do this? Can you make this happen? Can you make him a good dog? Well, we can't do that in a few weeks. And with some of the behavior and the problems they have and all that. And I said, I know you watch a lot of YouTube videos and you see all this stuff, but just remember something. Just remember because I used to do IPO, you know, we're not going to go out for our BH until they're 15 months old. So you have you've got a 14-week-old puppy. We're not going to get that focus heel in a 4-week class, not like what you see on the videos. And you're not going to get all this stuff until the dog reaches a certain age. You have to have maturity and all that stuff. Do you find some of that in the pet side as well, because of what you do on the LEO dogs? Do you see that where people have that expectation for their dogs coming through a program?
Yeah, especially puppies. Now, our puppy training is really good. We call it a boot camp. We don't do lessons for puppies. It's always a board and train. I have a couple trainers that specialties puppies, and they do above and beyond what a lot of other people do. And the puppies, like, we can get a puppy on place and stay there for a long period of time.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
walking real nice. Everything's on leash and things like that. But I always tell them, and I tell them, listen, I'm not upselling you to come back for an adult. This isn't McDonald's. Do you want fries with that?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, you have a 3-month-old dog who in 5 months will be different. In a year is going to be different from that. It's
right.
18 months different from a year-old. And a lot of these dogs, there's going to be 2 years old before they're a mature dog. So you're going to see problems. And so I do it with when we get a dog that comes in for training, and we do an adult training on an 11-month-old dog, and he rocks it. And we're going to go,
Right.
Don't forget, guys, you got to come to these lessons. You got to come back here and let us work with you, because in 6 months, this Doberman is a different dog than he is now
Right.
at 11
Yeah.
months. And that seems to resonate with people. They seem to kind of get that. But then again, some of them we don't ever hear from again. So
Yeah, it's
Right.
kind of that's similar to what we do and how we look at it. I like that we think along the same lines in some of this stuff. It's really neat to me, because there's so many people that say it's a once and done thing. Well, my dog did training here and it should have been a genius for life. Well, you did training when the dog was 5, 6, 7 months old, and everything changes. And I think that's something that's missed in that side of the world, where we'll develop working dogs right over a period of time. Even if we're bringing in green dogs, we're still developing them over a period of time before we're sending them off.
Yeah.
And then they're being finished when we know they're not truly finished. But that's why you have weekly training, and that's why you have as much going on with a working dog. And I think that people miss that sometimes, especially when they know that's your background, and all of a sudden you're supposed to produce for them a dog that can go to competition as a young dog, or without that follow-up training. So I think we see some of the same things.
Oh yeah, for sure. The one thing that I do believe that you kind of reprogram the dog is when it comes to pulling on the leash, and we show it so fast that the owners are like, well, shit, then you should be able to change his personality.
Right.
Yeah.
No, he's so excited when people come over. Can you stop that? I'm like, it's his personality. I mean, sure, you can manage it and you can do whatever, but he's a happy dog. He's excited, or he doesn't like people. That's a big thing, man. People want their dog to meet other people, and they want them to meet other dogs. your dog doesn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, that's
We teach people to not do it.
Or likes it
Yeah.
too much. Yeah. Like either way, likes it too much or doesn't like it. And you're like, listen, like I did a Rottweiler, 140 pounds, biggest Rottweiler I've ever seen. And his tail wasn't docked, so it was real long. Like he was an Escalade. He was so big. And what would happen was the owners, they're great people. I've known them for a long time, but they're part of a Rottweiler rescue group. And they want the breed to have a better, picture. They don't want people to have this idea that Rottweilers are mean or whatever. And their dog growls when he sees people. And they wanted to force it. And I did the training with the dog, and we were able to instantaneously extinguish that growling and make him just stop. But he doesn't want people coming up to him.
The feeling is still there.
Yeah, he doesn't like them.
The outward expression is gone, but the feeling is still there.
Yeah, they don't like him. And so I explained it to him. I go, listen, man, this dog has met everyone he needs to meet, and that's you two. He doesn't like it. You want him to do it.
But we want him to go to the dog park.
Okay, if the dog park has no people in it, you're fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
But again, with the dog parks, so it's just it's different. You gotta break some hearts every once in a while and really kind of,
Absolutely.
And I have to tell this too, and you've probably seen it a lot too with the police dogs. If it's a guy's second or third dog, I tell him in the beginning, listen, I do not want I don't want to hear about that other dog.
That's right.
He's in a vase on your mantle. He died. This dog is the dog you have, not what you used to have. Oh man, I wish I wish he could get this out. The other dog was so easy.
There can be no comparisons.
Yeah, let's work on this dog. I don't care. And I end up saying the same thing to people. Like, I know your neighbor's dog is the greatest dog that ever lived. You have this dog,
right?
Who doesn't like your neighbor's dog or whatever,
right. But I think that's the distinction that gets made too between a handler and a trainer. And I think that's for me, because I'm always that guy. And when I'm hanging out with the K9 cops, right? First of all, they didn't love us at first. Oh, you've got those IPO dogs. You've got yeah, but I can go out and compete, and I'm not allowed to wear a dummy collar, and I'm not allowed to put a prong on my dog. Mm-hmm. The most that I can have is a fur saver. My dog will do exactly that. Oh, but your dog's not going to stay in a fight. Well, that one will. Maybe that one won't, but that one will. And so I actually broke down some of those walls, which was a lot of fun. But as 10 years ago, as I started learning that there's such a difference in that world, what is a handler and what is a trainer? And it's good because when trainers are being real with people, it helps us handlers be better handlers, because those comparisons hurt. Not just on law enforcement side, but it happens a lot in the pet side. Well, I had this dog's father, or I had his brother, or whatever, and people will do that. Or my other 5 golden retrievers, that's how I make a lot of money. My other 5 golden retrievers never did this. Well, you finally got a good one who likes to hunt
right.
instead of lay around, right? You've got one that loves to hunt. Now you can't walk it because it wants to sniff everything. So all those things parallel, which is kind of neat. But I do the same thing. There's no comparisons that are allowed to be made. So,
let me ask you guys this question, because as breeders of German Shepherds, so probably what you see is what we see. The number one dog we train on the pet side, not even close, is German Shepherds. And nobody's even close, and they all suck.
Yes.
So when people come to you and they got German Shepherds and they're nerve bags, fearful, fear biters, reactive, all the other stuff, and I'll sometimes just lament to people about, hey, yeah, you guys got experience with German Shepherds? Oh, do we? We have 8 in our program right now, that type of thing. I get into, well, why? Why do you think happened? What do you think happened? What do you tell them when they ask you
genetics?
Why did German Shepherds, are they so bad?
Genetics, absolutely genetics. And I'll have people that'll come in and say, hey, we want our dog to be a personal protection dog. And I said this to a lady, and I was nice to her. I'd known her. She'd come into the store several times, and I'd known her through going through a group class with her dog. It was a bag of nerves. And she said, Steve, we're ready to start your personal protection training. I said, if I stomp at your dog, it's going to piss itself and hide behind you. And I said, your dog is no candidate for protection training, but he's a German Shepherd. And I said, that doesn't mean anything. And I said, would you like me to stress your dog to that point? And I said, I can do it. And she said, no. And I draw a lot of hard lines when it comes to that. But I talk to him about genetics a lot, and genetics mean everything. Then that puppy raising, if you can, imprint those dogs properly with the right genetics, then you can move on. But we see a lot of German Shepherds come in, and everyone wants them to be a protection dog. That's why they get a pointy-eared dog. That's part of it. And if they ever say, no, that's not really why I got a pointy-eared dog, then they're liars, and I don't work with them, because it's never going to be a good thing.
Right.
Because anyone who gets one, that's why they get one, because even if it's a small part of what they were thinking was about being a protection dog, or the protection nature and quality of that dog. But we get a lot of them, and we just weed them through, quite honestly. And I just don't train them, because I train them as a team, individually with the dog, and then individually even with the human, then as a team. But I evaluate them as a team too, and not just willy-nilly training protection dogs. I just don't believe in that. Just because a dog can, because it can bite, or because it can engage and do this and that. But if the team's not the right team, then I just won't do it. Because then we find those sharp dogs all of a sudden, because the dog has a tendency for it.
Now, did we do that? Did the Americans do that with the breed?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll be right back.
All right. And Tanner, I tell people that all the time. That why? Because we sucked. We blew it. The Americans ruined it. And because and I'm sure they got some bad shepherds. Of course, they got bad shepherds.
Oh, absolutely.
Germany,
absolutely.
Europe. But and it's funny when agencies are like, yeah, I don't know about those guys trainers. They're sport guys. Where do you think all the dogs
started
in Europe are?
Yeah.
They're in sport clubs, or their lineage is sport. Like in Holland, KMPV is the certification for police dogs. You got to get titled to be a police dog.
And here it's considered a sport.
Right. And most vendors that go to Europe go to the sport clubs and buy the dogs off the field. We had Kenny Licklider on the podcast from VaNess Kennels, and he said, I bought 2 national champions off the podium.
Yep.
As soon as they came off the podium, cash. And they just, okay, sure. On to the next dog they go. And then he took them and bred them.
I think he said one time he bought one of the national champions, and the guy didn't even look at the dog afterwards.
He said that it's turned away. So down where you guys are at in Florida, what's the pet dog wise? What do you guys get the most of?
We always have a saying that doodles have kept us in business over the last 12 years. We thought it was going to be a lot of the German Shepherds. Actually, our first training client was a beautiful female DDR, all black, just beautiful, gorgeous dog. From a German Shepherd called Bomber. And he was a amazing sport dog over in Germany, and he was just really good. So we got her as just a regular basic obedience, just kind of lifestyle training. We went to their house a lot. We actually became very good friends with them. But we had pretty much a clear path. Okay, this is what it's going to be. We started breeding the Dutchies, and people started bringing their Malinois to us, or their Dutchies to us, for about 3 years. And then after that, we live in a little beach town, and it's right near Panama City. There's a lot of people here that'll go buy the $5,000-$6,000 doodles, the new breeds that they're breeding pretty much everything with these poodles, and they're going to buy the new ones that just came out. No one knows anything about them, how they train, how they work, anything. And the next thing you know, I'm getting dogs. I get bit by more doodles and poodles than I have shepherds or Rottweilers or anything that's deemed a aggressive dog. Dad, I was just telling Eric that we have a saying that doodles have kept us in business down here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and,
we are
golden retrievers and labs and everything.
Yeah, we get a lot of doodles. We get a lot of doodles at our daycare. We get a lot of them in training. I find if they're just there's really nothing wrong with them. They're so easy to train. But I tell you, so I'm 52 years old. When I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and Dobermans were the baddest mofos growing up. And then again, like everything that was good, like that, we destroyed them. Like the Dobermans are so bad.
bred them with
Absolutely.
Great Danes
But
and all
w-
kinds of stuff. Yep.
right, but we're lucky. We have a lady, I've known her forever. She owns a company called Premier Dobermans, and all of her stuff comes from Serbia. She'll bring in pregnant dogs. She'll bring in male, female, have litters. She'll bring in adults,
Right.
teenagers,
Right.
buy whole litters, all kinds of stuff. We have not a contract. We have an agreement with her, and we train all her dogs. And then we're where she preferred recommends when they go.
Right.
We have probably done, gosh, I don't know, 50 or 60 of her dogs in the last 2
Wow.
years, and they are everything I remember about when as a kid and a young person. Her Dobermans are so good. And we'll get one in that's not a Premier Doberman dog, and you can tell right away, immediately.
Well, a well-bred, Doberman is phenomenal, and then we look at any of them, but we'll get a lot of Malleys here. We're in a military town,
Okay.
and so we'll get a lot of the guys that will go get a Malley and then leave it with their spouse back home while they go on another deployment, and the dog goes crazy.
Mhm.
So we'll get some of them in, but they're bred poorly, and I get a lot, and I know you hear this a bunch too. Oh, well, dad was a police canine or mom was a police canine. Why did you get that dog as a pet? Because I think that people don't understand the distinction in what makes a dog a pet, pet quality dog. For us, we look at a police canine is different from a sport dog, and a sport dog and a police canine are different from a protection dog, right? They're going to have different attributes, different qualities
Right.
that we're looking for each of those. But we'll see some of that'll come through too, and then some of them become unmanageable, and it's from poor breeding because, well, you had some aggression that you're breeding that now you're bringing that through as a pet dog that you don't want. But for me, even with my law enforcement dogs, I don't want a sharp dog. I want a dog that's controllable, and engages and fights, but a dog that also is social, to a certain extent, because I feel like that's a better quality dog. But we see that in the German Shepherds a lot, going back and rolling back from the Dobermans. The same thing. Structure's different. Temperament's different, everything, workability, and we definitely see it. And I believe it's the Americans that messed it up. And we also have giant schnauzers. My giant schnauzer line is bred off of a dog that was the top working giant schnauzer in the world for 2 years in a row. So I'm looking for quality when I'm importing. So I'm having fun with it.
I'm trying to get someone to make a Maladoodle, and no
Oh,
one will
gosh.
bite.
Oh, please no.
That's the reaction every time. Every time. Oh no, shut up. F you. No way. Stop it.
Well, there's a new doodle, Eric. There's a new doodle called a Toodle, that is a giant schnauzer, golden doodle mixed with another golden doodle, called a
what?
Toodle. So it has
Weird.
all the attitude of a giant schnauzer, especially when they're young. It takes them a while to sort things through, right? They're pushy and strong. So that's the closest that I've seen yet. And these are they're great dogs. And I always tell the people, listen, just work through it, get over the hump, and you're going to have probably the most loyal, loving, affectionate, strong dog that you've ever owned in your whole life. And they're starting to see that, but I'm not a huge fan of the doodles.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't. I want to roll back real quick to what you said about the sharpness. We used to, in police work, all the dogs we got were just single handler, single person assholes.
Yes.
Like bite everything, man. And it was cool, man. You had this badass dog. So I work dogs in the city I work for. We're very busy. Every one of our dogs retires with 50 to 150 bites. Very busy. And I think that kind of alters some dogs a little bit. I have my opinion on that. But now nobody wants that anymore. Nobody wants the dog that their wife can't take outside or can't feed or whatever. And I like a social dog. I kind of just want a dog who wants to work and is neutral, to where other people can stand in the room while the dog's searching for explosives and he doesn't come and tag them. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But that's why when I get the dogs in from Europe, I have everybody handle them. Hey, go get so-and-so out of the van. He's in this crate, and bring him in and work him. Because I want him to work for the sake of working, not for who's holding the leash. That guy's just the chauffeur. Drive me to the work, and
Let
then
me work.
Right. And then once they get with the handler and they get with that one guy all the time and they start feeding off each other, they'll get better or worse, but usually get better. But in the meantime, as a vendor, you can't have the dog that when the agency comes to test and I'm the only one that can get them out.
Right.
Because if they like the dog, I put them in their car and they drive 5 hours. What happens at the end of the 5 hours? You know,
They got to get that dog out.
what are you going to
Yep.
get them out on a sleeve and then go give them to some new guy? You know, so that's evolved. Most people I know anymore don't want, you know, vendors wise, don't want that. Ted talks about that a lot, where he always gets a-holes and everything. Even Ted's getting sick of it, and he doesn't want to be so much in, because he got bit in the calf 2 years ago, I think. Bad, like 40 stitches bad. Ooh. And after that, he's like, yeah, I don't think I want that so much anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? He doesn't mind a badass little sharp, you know, but a dog that and I'm the same as him and you guys, we have employees. I can't have my employees getting bit. You know
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. And, you know, you just have to, for us, you have to look at those dogs and measure them away and where are they best suited for? And sometimes, like for us, when we're bringing dogs in, you get a dog and you don't know exactly what you're getting. You know, you've seen the videos, because I'm not going to Europe to select them. Right. I'm working with some brokers. So sometimes you get an ass eater and it's not any fun, because now, again, you're the only person who can go get them, or the staff says, Steve, you're going to have to get this dog out. Okay, so I have to go get the dog out, but again, I can't hand the leash off because now the dog wants to, you know, to go up leash at them or whatever. So, and that's, you know, they come with a lack of confidence at some point too, because they've seen the dog. And you can't hand that dog off successfully. It doesn't work real well. The
other big shift is if you have I want a 100-pound shepherd, I want a 100-pound dog.
Oh,
your second dog will not be 100 pounds. I can guarantee you.
Nope.
So anytime I'm teaching a seminar, and so say after we talk, maybe this is a bite seminar, and we're gonna do some grip checks. You know, we're gonna have back ties and just put the dogs on, do grip checks. And the guy comes out and he's got a giant shepherd, 95 pounds, and you're like, first dog? Yeah. How'd you know? I'm like, because nobody gets a 100-pound dog anymore for their second or third dog. Let's see a couple times on the street through the window, that high window, and you'll be like, or over a fence, you're gonna be like, yeah, no thanks anymore.
Yeah, I'm not having any fun doing this anymore.
But here's the thing, you as a vendor still got to have big dogs, some big dogs in your kennel, because they're going to come through and they always get picked.
Yep.
Always get picked.
Because they're big and they're scary looking.
Dude, I just had a dog. His name was Robic. They changed his name, but Robic was listed as a shepherd, but I think he was a shepherd mal mix. And he was huge and strong as can be. And I called him an apex predator. When he got out of the van, he was hunting, grabbing the door jambs, coming into the room every single time coming into work. If I'm handling the dog and you two and say another person are in the room, I'm walking in and he's trying to get to all of it. Not barking, not going crazy, dragging to where you're like, I don't know what you're going to do. Are you going over there to say hi, or are you going to go take a leg? And then we do some bite where we do whatever, and then we go put him up. And then, Steve, you go get him 15 minutes later. He comes out, and then he's trying to come after me and the other people, and then it's just a round robin. But he got passed by 3 departments because he was too big, too strong, just strong. And so I had an agency from Maryland, big 20-dog agency. They came up and they got 3 dogs from me, and they passed on Robic because the handler was little. It was a female. She's 110 pounds. I met her. She's, nice lady, competent, but he was definitely too big.
Right.
They got home and they took a nice mal for her, but they got home and a dog went down or had to retire or something, and the handler left. And the guy they had as a handler now was the defensive end for like Virginia Tech or something.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, hey, you still got Robic? They're like, yeah, we're on our way. And came back up and got him. But those dogs then can be very specific, when they're so big.
Because they can be useful in a lot of ways too. It just has to be with the right handler. Kind of sticking with the working dog side, we'll ask you a couple more questions. I know you guys have your very opinionated feelings on doing more of the floppy ears now when it comes to the single purpose dogs versus the pointy ears. Kind of give me your opinion on why do you think that's changing? Why do you think people are wanting to do that? And what's your opinion on actually doing that as a vendor?
So I blame Hillary Clinton for all of the floppy ear, pointy ear bullshit, because when she was
Optics.
when she was the Secretary of State, the all of the government statement of work, all of it changed for the State Department to floppy ear dogs. I'm doubt she had anything to do with it, but I'm blaming
Right.
her anyways because she hates dogs, hates dogs. I have a friend of mine has a lab for an agency, and he was helping the Secret Service when she was running for office, and he did a pre-sweep. You know, he had to sweep the venue, and he was doing the exit sweep, and she's coming, so he bails back into this room. She walks by and stops. He's got this little lab, and she goes, "Oh, hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you." And his dog jumped on her, and she lost it, stormed out, cussing, motherfucking dogs, whatever. Goes out. The Secret Service guy comes back. My buddy's like, "Hey, I'm sorry," and he goes, "That was awesome. I loved it. That was great." So, but anyways, so someone started this whole crappy narrative, and this is a problem in working dogs, where it's said or whatever, or it's how we always did it, and then it just sticks from the 80s or 90s, and then people just regurgitate crap that they were told, and you can't teach them or prove them wrong. So whoever's in charge at these government contracts, they well, we have to have floppy ear dogs because aesthetically they look better. No, stop,
Yeah.
stop it. But you can't, because then that guy trained the guy behind him, and he just regurgitates and vomits the same garbage, and this over and over and over. So now the labs, the market on labs, are so overpriced now, it's unbelievable.
Right.
Yep.
And freaking German short hair pointers all of a sudden are the big
Yeah.
thing.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I'm not a fan of them. I've got Springer Spaniels that I got from Germany in my kennel right now. I will never get another fucking floppy-eared hunting dog. Never again, unless an agency prepays for it. Never
Right.
getting them again. They all pee constantly in the kennel or in their crates. They're all a pain in the ass. And they don't work any better than a really nice German Shepherd or Malinois. They
Right.
do not hunt any better. They don't work better. I don't care that they're scarier looking. Woo, that's all Hillary Clinton crap. And
Right.
it's just bull crap regurgitated over and over and over. And now somebody decided that these working dogs have to be a certain height from the floor to the top of the front shoulder.
Right.
And so now these Springers I have are English Springer Spaniels. They're freaking shit hot hunting dogs. They're too short.
Right.
Bull crap. They can sniff pallets. They can sniff all the other things you're doing. They're like 19 inches. They're 5 inches too short. So the statement of work is set up like that. Then the guy who's going to come in and run that contract next is going to regurgitate the same garbage.
Yep.
That's the part that drives me nuts. They're not any better. They're not easier to train. They don't hunt as well. They're at best the same, but it's a whole perception thing, and I can't stand it. You know, that's why like this third-party screener program, where at some point every package in the United States has to be screened by a dog.
Right.
And TSA now is using all the floppy-eared dogs in the front of the house where people see them. And then in the back, it don't matter. And all those companies are using Malinois and German
Right.
Shepherds because they're better.
Right.
They're just better. And
Well, optics become everything, and we can go back to what you asked me earlier about the German Shepherd dogs. Then all of a sudden you get into breeding problems, because now we're not breeding for workability. We're breeding for that size, and exclusively getting into that size, or overbreeding to have more of those dogs available. And also that's a money market, right? Like you're saying, because they're overpriced. So now we're producing them, and we are actually making them less workable. That goes into that category as well. So that's where some of those problems come from. And I laugh when you said GSP, because I trained a couple, and one was a currency dog. Man, that dog pissed everywhere as we were going through training, all the time, just walking into a room, excited, pissed everywhere. Could find currency, it was phenomenal, but it would come in and you knew you were cleaning up. And since I was the low guy on the totem pole walking in, of course, I had to do a lot of mopping. So I don't have a great affinity for training those the GSPs. But if you want a lab that'll also bite, get you some good yellow labs.
I have
and
one.
work them on the back end.
Yeah, the German short hair pointers bite though. Some of them.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's just like people that get and listen, if you listen to the podcast, you probably heard me talk about it. I am not buying into the bloodhound thing. I just am not.
No.
I'm not buying into the bloodhound. I don't think a bloodhound tracks any better than a really good German Shepherd. They just don't. Now, there's some argument out there that they can work older tracks better, maybe, but they're assholes. And
More
they bite.
receptors in their nose, but they're jerks. Yeah.
Yeah, they bite all the time.
Yeah.
Not every one of them, but we're at a search and rescue conference helping facilitate some scenarios and everything. I got bit twice by bloodhounds there. That was
They
the only
make the
thing that
best
bit me.
prison dogs, prison dogs for escapees because they're sized, because they will bite. And they're kind of a gnarly dog, by nature. Sure, they've got more receptors in their nose, so sure they're going to do some other things that might be a little bit better. But I like them for prison dogs. And that's always fun. But working them on the daily, no, because they don't like to be told no.
No.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this other thing too, and I'll ask you about this because I'm gonna have to be. It's gonna take a bit to convince me. I am not buying into the giant schnauzer thing right now.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's a gimmick for not everyone, but there's a lot of people that are using it as a gimmick, and because they want something different, their department gets them because they want something different. And then the ones that I have seen, I have not been impressed with.
And I'll explain why. So there's two different types of giant schnauzers. You have that American line again, and then you have the German line. And what people don't know is that before the German Shepherds came here and everybody fell in love with them, well, the giant schnauzers had made some presence here. The problem was that they required grooming unless you were going to leave them shaggy, and they got knotted up and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And so then the emergence of the German Shepherd and the popularity grew because there's no grooming, there's no maintenance except for brushing them. And so then the giant Schnauzer got watered down. There are some gimmick giant Schnauzer people out there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But for the ones that are breeding for good workability, man, it's a solid dog. When that dog hits you, it hurts. And it hurts for a long time because that square jaw, instead of coming into a point, it's square all the way through and through. So you have that power at the back where it is heavy, and that power is there. But there's a lot of the gimmicks that are out there. We were asked to breed some for some departments, and we have one now that is getting placed, but the whole thing of going into doing a lot of breeding with them, we pulled away from because they're going to get watered down, and it's just the way it's going to happen. So we pulled away.
Well, I will admit that my sample size is small on as many as I've seen, and my gimmicky thing may just because I don't like the people that I have seen doing the gimmicky things with them. Showing
We've all seen the videos,
showing that they're doing things with these dogs and rifles inside a prison.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you are not bringing a rifle inside a prison. So
that's right.
Stop with all your crap with that.
Right.
Yes.
And maybe those dogs are really good, but I can't get past him, so he's not going to come show me his dogs.
Well, It's an intelligent breed, but it takes a while for them to develop. They have a rowdy side when they're young, very rowdy, and it takes them a while to develop. And, we just use that young age to exploit that rowdiness and the craziness to create the reckless dog that will go through over and around whatever. But it takes a while to develop them. I think that's one of the reasons that people didn't like him in the working dog side, because you can see this great progression with a young Mal or a German Shepherd or a Dutchie, and you can really see progression. But with working with some of the giant Schnauzers, from my experience, is that it takes longer. And so a lot of people don't want to mess with that. But they're a solid dog, but they're also going to get into an age group, 2 years old, 2.5 years old, where you can get into it, get a shepherd out there a lot younger and get into a handler's hands and see proficiency where you're not going to see it necessarily with some of the giant schnauzers still a little bit older, at least in my experience.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason in this country, 3 is that magic number where departments won't buy a dog that's
Falling off.
3
Yep.
because they're almost dead. No, come on, man.
Ah,
3
The
3
problem
years
they're
is that's
old.
prime.
when, yep,
They're
that's when these
prime.
schnauzers really mature and actually get their drives. We had one that were the one that we're replacing. She liked the ball. She liked chasing the ball more than anything when she was young. Over the past 6 months, if you're holding a ball in your hand, she'll come through your hand to get that ball now.
Mm.
And beforehand, she was just like, okay, if you throw it, I'll go get it. But if not, then I don't really care about it. You have that ball in your hand, she'll do anything you ask her to do. But that didn't come until right before she turned 3 years old. And she's awesome. She's phenomenal now. But you were talking about the Dutchies a little bit, how they're a little bit slower to mature sometimes and all that. It really shows its ass in the Schnauzers, especially that German line.
Yeah. I'd like to see a good somebody told me that they had caught a real nice one on a sleeve or a suit and said it was crushing. Like it was
There's
Yeah,
power.
it
The whole
doesn't feel
body
good.
is muscle. The
Yeah.
whole body is muscle, and they hit hard when when they're the right dog. They really do. But again, development, and that's money. When people are having to keep dogs 3 or 4 months longer, then that's money. That's time in kennel.
Mhm.
There's a lot of factors for that. Plus the grooming, the
Yep.
care. It's a lot. So I think that has led to it. And then the gimmicks are no fun, but they look great on the videos.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. This is a habit. I know this is your podcast, and I was probably supposed to answer questions, but I got one for
No,
you.
you're
I thought
good.
about
Sure.
all the way back from the beginning. So now you guys are a new podcast. You get out there and you've been doing business for a long time. You're going to get people to reach out to you and ask you questions about having a dog training business. Florida and Ohio may be a little bit different. So you have the kennel, which is the original. Then you have the What's Up Dog, and then you have the Armor Canine. Do you do it as one LLC and 2 DBAs under it, or do you do 3 LLCs? Because I have
it's
3 things, and
so
it's
I do it
one.
umbrella as Von Herter House Kennels, and then DBAs.
Okay, yeah, I do the same thing. Ohio's the same way. Because I have VaNess K9, which is the LLC,
Right.
Ridgeside K9, which is a DBA, and then I just opened another Ridgeside K9 up in Toledo, so up by Eastern Michigan, and
Gotcha.
Toledo, Ohio. And Ohio's like, yeah, dude, just don't do 3 LLCs, just do one
Yeah.
and do DBAs under them.
Easier management to do it that way, and then everything's all. I mean, our boarding facility, daycares, everything runs under What's Up Dog, and even our pet training runs under What's Up Dog. So
Right.
it works, and then the other DBA with Armored, it works well.
Yeah. So then the kennel is the tax, like when you do everything's
That's
under that
correct.
LLC. Okay.
Yep,
I do.
yep.
I do the same way. Have you found? So I had everything under VaNess K9, and I was having basically advertisement problems when it came, not so much on the pet side, but when it came to police. Because if you look at my Instagram, it's all police stuff. My Facebook page and the website was mostly pets. So, but old lieutenants and captains from police departments don't go to Instagram. They look at Facebook and they look at your website. So people are like, why'd you start Ridgeside? Well, that's why. So I had to break the pets away from the VaNess side. Did you ever have a consideration of doing everything under What's Up or Armor as everything, or does it make sense for you two to separate it?
What I did is when I started the Von Herter House Kennels Inc., that's where we started. And then when I decided that I was going to get a facility after I was already doing that, that's when I said I need to name the facility something, because I don't think we're going to get people in under Von Herter House Kennels for what we're doing there. And so that's where the What's Up Dog came in. And I think with our market here, because the Panhandle of Florida, when you look at it on the map, it's long and skinny. When we cover this territory in this area, it was easy for people then to recognize What's Up Dog, and whether they're purchasing or whatever was through the kennels was fine. They didn't mind that, and they seemed to understand it. It didn't confuse them too much. We do get some people that get confused still. Now, in the last several years with Armored Canine, people are like, what is Armored Canine? Well, because we've kept that somewhat secret, because that's our other side. That's that law enforcement dog. That's the personal protection dog, where we don't have that in front of the public as much. So it's a little confusing to navigate, but it's worked. And I think with you breaking it off, I think that's where you now get to see more, because first you get to advertise more, right?
Yeah.
You have more platform space. So that's always good. And like we had Von Herterhouse, or What's Up Dog by Von Herterhouse Kennels at one time as we transitioned the breakaway.
Yeah.
And that worked for us. And then we started dropping that, and now it's simply the 3 different entities.
Where I'm lucky is I don't have to advertise on the VaNess side, on the police side, because I have a podcast, and we have 1.2 million downloads, so it's pretty popular. And
That's
then the
strong.
social media and everything like that. So I sell all my stuff through Instagram anymore. But then the police or the pet side, Facebook boosting posts, content constantly. I actually pay one of our employees just to post on Facebook every day, like 3 times a day. So it works out pretty well. One other question I have for you guys is, Tanner, are we going to, as we go on to the podcast, are we going to keep up this facade and call him Steve? Or are you just going to call him Dad? What are we doing?
I mean, I do it. Okay. So the reason I call him Steve a lot is because when I was the facility manager at our Santa Rosa Beach facility, nobody really understood when I said dad, or like our customers, when I said dad, they'd be like, who's your dad? And so I was like, okay, just Steve. And so now, even when I'm talking to his wife, I'll be like, hey, Steve, I mean, Dad. And like, it's just kind of in there. And so it's kind of back and forth. I'll refer to him as Dad, or refer to him as Steve, kind of both. But I do that in everyday life. So that's the funny part. It's kind of like when we use the word for our interruption word a lot with dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll hear me say it in a regular conversation with people. And I'm like, oh, I just catch myself. Or I'll tell people, like, when they do something funny or good, I'll be like, oh, good. Wait. Yeah. And so it's the same kind of thing.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, we do that a lot.
So Eric, have you been down to our area at all?
No. So my mom's entire side of the family all live in Winter Haven.
Oh, I grew up down there.
Oh, did you? And I
in
like
St. Pete.
Oh, okay. I like it there and everything. I don't understand living in Florida where you're not on the coast. It's just kind of me. We haven't been down there to visit them in a long time. Me, my wife, and my son went to, and my daughter went on vacation way down in southern Florida. I was like, okay, I'll give Florida a little bit more chance. Of course, we've all been to Orlando. Everybody in Ohio comes to Orlando, but that's about it. I'll be down there next month for hits. So this is what's weird. So I'm going to Orlando for hits, staying over the weekend. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have nothing to do, because then Monday, the following week, me and Aaron Taylor are teaching a e-collar seminar up in Pensacola to a bunch of law enforcement guys.
Yeah. So that's where we're about at.
Okay, cool. Well,
50 miles. Yeah, we're 50 miles east of Pensacola.
Oh, that's nothing. Let me look.
60 miles.
So I will be August 16th, and then finishing the hits on the 19th. And then from the evening of the 19th to 20th until probably the evening of the 21st, I have nothing to do.
Well, I appreciate it, Eric. That was really good. I told Dad, or Steve, whatever, that I was really going to ask you about the Mally Dutchy kind of thing, because there's a big, almost like, difference in opinions, if that makes sense. About those. I personally like the Dutchies. I think that the Dutchies are I think that I like the off switch they have naturally most of the time. Mm-hmm. And so we have a lot of them from the Duco 2 line and things like that. And from what I've seen, we even had my dog's dad as a long coat Dutchie that actually Mike Suttle imported for AK9I. And I know he says it too. When he imports a Dutchie, it's got to be a unicorn. And we've been lucky to
I'm
get
same way. I had a long haired Dutchie in my kennel. His name is Mercy, Merci. So like Merci. Right. He's in down in Knox County, Tennessee. He was a long hair, Brendel long hair. Right. Probably the most beautiful dog I've ever seen, and a murderer. Bite hard as shit. So the agency came up, and they're buddies of mine. They're like, man, I don't know about this long hair. You trying to get me beat up back home he looks like whatever. And I'm like, dude, put the suit on. And he put the suit on. He's like, yeah, this dog's going back to Tennessee. Like, he's a killer.
Yeah, no, he was the first dog I ever took a bite from. And I think I was 12 or 13. And obviously he was just doing a standing bite, but
Mhm.
man, even on a competition sleeve, he was only probably 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And even on a competition sleeve, that dog bit harder than most of the German Shepherds and Malinois that I deal with. We got lucky to have a lot of more Duco 2 size, that 70 pound around ish, 75 pound, kind of getting some of that size in there from Tommy and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
we have one that's actually my dog's brother that he's 8.5 years old, hadn't taken a bite in probably 4 years. And that dude bites hard.
I love it.